Hello. I'm going to talk about my work or our work. I work with a partner and friend. He's called CD, and we work since more than 20 years. And most of our work is based on technology and on software and hardware, and is most of the time real time. So it's something which exists in the moment, which is being executed by the code. Even if somehow there are some exceptions and some pieces don't even move, but the software is still behind. So I want to walk you through several of these works. So it's going to be a sort of a speed run, and I end when the time is over, maybe not at the end of the slides. I also want to talk about the struggle we had and we have in trying to connect with collectors or a little bit with the market. So this is the context. So we talk about these things and how we manage to sell or to not sell our work. And I want to start with this project here, which is also a project our first project, which ended up in a collection. And so this is a project, it's a real-time piece, which is the connection between a physical part, so you see these speakers, and a virtual part, so a software part, a real-time part, which are these balls. And so we wanted to explore this relationship. And so I play it. This is old documents. This is a piece from 20 years ago, and so the video quality is not what you are used of today. So the bouncing part is trivial to implement, but as we had to sell this or to give it to this collection, I also had to build in a complete mapping software, which was part of the thing we distributed. And so what we gave, or what you consigned to the client or to the collector, was a box with the speakers inside, an amplifier, and a computer with the system installed, and our software, and a 3-page manual. So this is what you would call today the distribution of the artwork. And I think it ended in this collection, and it was never exhibited again. So inside this box, there is a brand new computer with all this stuff. I don't know if it will even turn on in a few years or even today. So we experimented a lot with projections because it was cheap, it was special somehow. We could reach a scale. But first of all, we could interact with existing geometries in an existing context. And so we were fascinated by this sort of urban geometries, this urban language, which is really a powerful language. It's something which is built to be seen by drivers and by the users of the road. And so we played a little bit with this. We did several experiments. Nowadays you would call this mapping. This is the only thing we did on a facade on a building. It was a minimal piece. And so the street context, as we are both, me and my partner, we come from graphic design, and so we are sensible, we are attracted to things which are meant to communicate or to display information. And so we were always fascinated by these flip dots on the bus. And so we went to the bus company and we asked if they could give us one of these, if they could sell us one of their displays, and they did. For very cheap, we could buy this panel, and then we had to learn to program it, which was something different. And so we made 2 pieces. I just have a diagram. So we made this a series of 2, and one in this very low resolution. So this is 14 times 112 pixels on a retina display is probably 10 or 12 millimeters in the very top corner. And so we embrace low resolution, and we designed we choose two approach. One was to work on the oblique lines, and the other one, like this, is more in an orthogonal geometry. And the sound is, it was also taken in consideration. But not all displays have an electronic counterpart. So some of these displays are just plain mechanical, so you don't program them, you just put something on them, and then you see what happens. And we wanted this kind of screen since very, very long, and finally, a few years ago, we managed to put our hands onto it. This is, again, a produced artwork. So this is also a possibility. You don't make an artwork and then sell it, but you find somebody which is able to produce your work. And so we tried this. It was to maximize movement, because this is what this display does, it moves. And so this is one approach. And we tried also with color. It didn't work so well. It's really difficult to work with color on this scale and with the production techniques. And but we had two. So we tried two different things. I think this one is not so good. Here we are. We tried to make movement, not just to display colors, but it didn't work so well. The idea was better. But even for this project, the first thing I did was to build a simulator, a real-time object, which allowed us to quickly design this sort of transitions, design these sort of patterns, and see how they would work in a simulator. And once we were ready, we could finally do the proper piece. You only have one shot with a project like this, so you need to prepare somehow to make sure that something at least works. And also this project, I'm very fond of this one. This was another one which is produced, so geometries from the city, a graphical language, again, extremely powerful, and what we do with this work is to harvest this power and to use it for our own. So these street signs arranged like this, or like this. This is a rendering. The one before was a real one. This is also real. Also real, and all these pieces that are still there, so that the quality of the materials is exceptional because it's meant to stay outside forever almost. And also it was super expensive to put these signs on this facade, and I don't think anybody wants to spend the money to take them down, even if maybe they're a bit annoyed by this piece. And I don't know how this works in France. This is something you would put on the road before a crossing with a railway. And so you have the 3 bars, 2 and 1. So it's kind of a countdown which tells the driver, hey, you're approaching a crossing with a train. And we just wanted to build a single continuous line through the facade of this building. This was the idea. Cul-de-sac, I think it's called. This one you know. We did a few variations. This was also built, but it was taken down. This was a project. It was ready. We had the funding. It was on a private house on the facade. And police came, because near the facade was also a road, a street. And the police said that this will confuse drivers, so you cannot do this. And so But this works in a strange way also in a different context. So when you take them away from the road and you put them into a different place, this is a small exhibition place, you can feel the strength and the size of these signs, which are really, they're almost ominous. They're too big to be pleasant. And so you can really feel this sort of power. And still, this is the only one we sold. This is a private house. And you can see they put this street sign inside the house, and I would never do this. But so for now, we have sold 2 pieces. And if you start to look around with this sort of site, then you start to see geometries and patterns everywhere. And even these poles, they had something. So we found a few. These horses, they jump around only half a year. The rest in the winter or in the summer, they don't use them. And so we just, they gave us for a short period, and we put it in this situation, which was interesting because the height was just right. So we couldn't put them like this, so we had to bend them a little bit, but it was an interesting experience. And we did this a few times. This is in a public park. And of course, in a context like this, you can put whatever you want in this garden, even a stone, and it will look amazing. So it's not really a merit of the artwork, it's more a merit of the place. But we could do this. This was just up for, I think, a few weeks. And yeah, back to the streets. These 7 digits displays are something I really, really love. And Carrefour. So we bought a few. They're mechanical, not light-based. It's not LEDs, so they have a very strong sound. And again, it's an object which is completely unadorned. There is no decoration inside. There is no purpose, beauty. There is no beauty. There is no design, if you want. It's just a raw industrial element with super high contrast because it's made to be seen from very, very far away in the worst light conditions. We did 2 versions. So with this configuration, we wanted to play around the rhythm and the design, but we did a second version where we wanted to play with speed. Yeah, so that was speed. And yeah, I think you have noticed in Paris there is an explosion of these pharmacy crosses, and they went completely crazy. And there are basically these HD displays in full color with some demo scene-like animation running on them. But we also were fascinated by the much simpler models, which are, again have a super low resolution. And so this was a commissioned work. So it's not sold, but it was built for this space, which had these 3 windows, and we just bought 3 of these crosses, and we tilted them, and then we rewrote the software on top of it, and they are synchronized. And so I show you a few frames. And this piece has been exhibited in a different context, which was also an interesting experience to take it down from where they usually belong, so these crosses are usually high up, and to observe what happens if you change context and you try to put them on the floor. So this was some house with pharmacy cross inside. And you don't need to go big. This is the smallest piece we made. Now I have an even smaller one in production, this is a vacuum fluorescent display. So it's like a LCD display, but the interesting part is that the light is emitted directly from the pixels, if you want, in a fluorescent way. And so there is this characteristic green. And you cannot do much. You can just write text on this sort of screen. And then you try. That's what you have. This is the constraint. And we sold a few of them. We made a series of 3 and a different model, and we sold 2. And so this, I wanted just to show you, this is what you have. So that's what you work with. And then from small, this is a bigger project we made. So train station, of course, could not be exempt from this sort of collection of urban signage. And this was a project from a few years ago. And Zurich main station mechanical timetable. And we knew they would take it down. So we called, and they gave it to us. The problem is it's 7 tons, 13 meters. And you need a special transport to bring it somewhere and then to leave it there. And also, when you get something like this on the, this is special transport. It was at midnight. They took it down at midnight, and they were ready with the new one, a digital LED one. So they took it down and then put it up, and the next day it was ready to go. So there was no, this is Swiss Railway. They are a nerd type on a different level. And so, you put it into a building, you clean it, you remount it, and you reprogram it. And when they took it down, on the very top, there was a thick cable, and they just cut it. And then you watch in this cable, there are several smaller cables inside, some big, some very small, different colors. And that is your interface to this kind of object. So you need also to figure out how this thing works to be able to reprogram it. And this is, again, an extremely beautiful mechanical object, a jewel of engineering. And you cannot write what you want, so the text is already, it's printed on these elements. And so, again, you have a very strict entry point. And I show you what we did. An error. It's mechanical. So sometimes it gets a little bit stuck. It's part of it. There is an alphanumeric part. It's meant only for the exceptions. So, oops, when there is an error, it will be displayed there. And so this is the last work I'm going to show from the collaboration part, and we transit into software, in the pure software. So it's dematerialized, a word I heard a few times today. So this is a dematerialized work. It's not running on the blockchain, it's running on an email server. And so we set up an email, and you could send an email to this email server, and the subject line would be remixed by our algorithm, and you would get back a composition made of your subject line. And so this is a sort of thing you get back, and it doesn't exist on the blockchain, it exists only in your inbox. And so that's, I don't know if this is forever or not. So this was not for sale, it was free. And it is a hell to set up an email server. I don't know if you even tried it, but it's something I won't do again. And so these are a few of these variations. And then a crypto art or NFT or something like this came. And for me, it was just a vector. I'm not so interested in the blockchain or in Web3, but I found a new vector, a new way to reach a new audience and to have a little bit of success, maybe to be able to sell something which you cannot really touch, which is only software. And this was sort of liberating, so I could, for a moment, not think about this heavy object, this expensive object, these difficult objects, but just to concentrate on what I know best, which is to write code. And so this is a series based on code. So this is just a script. So the script displays itself, so that's what you get. But the script also transforms itself. Something like this happens. I think they are outside. I forgot that they were also displayed outside. So. And this is the series I'm most fond of. And it's a simple project. And it's an ongoing series. I think we are at 8 now. This was a bit of a show-off. It has too many lines of code, but I wanted to try something a little bit of 3D or something like this. So this one is called Code is Dust, and it just does this. It's not even a loop, so you can just, it's a bit of an existential piece. And this is not from the start. I just wanted to find, maybe the graphic design deforming or something. I wanted to try something a little bit more organic to see if I was able to create something animal-like, and maybe it looks a bit like a shrimp or something. This one was the last. It's a code that tries to sort itself, so to order all the components. And I failed several times. This was a difficult. I thought this is a super easy task. It was indeed a little bit more complex. But success is not necessarily the goal. Sometimes you just fail. And so these are several attempts. This was starting to look more or less right. And I won't show you the final, but I think, yeah, this was more, I didn't like the fact that these lines would be too long. And this is almost it, except for the final one. So the number of lines of this code is the number of different signs that have been used inside the code itself. And I wanted to be the same number of the lines of code. So I had to tweak it a little bit more, but will that be the final result? And by this spirit, I started to work on easier and simpler and experiments just on screen. So again, this tower idea. I like this small project which is made on a proportional character set times the computer font times in this case, which gives you a little bit a jittery feeling. And again, so that's a bit of more recent work. Looks very old because it is from my days. So computer art was this sort of things, more or less. So I still try to play around with this kind of stuff. But I think I have a fetish for screens and displays and any sort of thing which is capable to show you some things or information or eventually just pixels. And so I always try different displays, and I found this one with this incredible background. I thought, this is it, this is perfect. I always try them on a phone. These phones have an incredible contrast, so it's nice to have them work there. But also on smaller custom displays, little things I find around to see how they look. This idea to have a small piece instead of this 7-ton thing is appealing somehow. And it's just I filmed the studio quickly, and you can see all these unsold pieces. So, Halil, it's your work, personal engineer. Flip dots didn't sell. Yeah, and all this stuff somehow ends up in your studio. So I very welcome the dematerialized art.